The argument that she's making, which is effectively abortion until birth should be in no way regulated, I find that to be morally indefensible.
Ben Shapiro takes the hot seat in this conversation on Jubilee. Let's jump into the video.
His claim is that Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible.
Nice.
What's going on, dude?
Meet you, man.
Hey, good to meet you. Okay, so I just want to clarify the claim because,
sure.
Okay, so the claim that I'm making about Kamala Harris, let's first say like what I believe her position to be. Okay, so she has not stated any abortion law that she would not veto. Right, so the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, for example, or late-term abortion bans, she would presumably veto that as president of the United States. That's the position that I'm taking in this particular prompt. Okay, so that is the position that I find morally indefensible. Okay, so again, I'm a very, very pro-life person, but I can see at least the sort of nuanced arguments that some people on the left try to make about abortion, even if I disagree with those arguments. The argument that she's making, which is effectively abortion until birth should be in no way regulated, I find that to be morally indefensible.
This is part of the problem with Kamala Harris not being clear when she speaks to the media. We are less than 2 weeks away from the election, and she is still very ambiguous when it comes to the positions that she holds and her views. That just shouldn't be the case, but because it is, it allows people to fill in the blanks.
Understanding right now is that a majority of Democrats would not support abortion through birth. My understanding is the more popular position. I don't think any state lets you go through birth. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe there's a couple.
California and New York, actually.
Okay, understood. But yeah, I think the key claim is basically, I think most Democrats would want abortion within the first few weeks prior to the development of my personal moral starting point of life is that the mind is the seat of consciousness. The brain is is where your self is. If you replace your heart, you have a robo heart, you're chilling. If you replace your brain, you're a different person, you're dead. And I think that when that brain first starts to develop, that's sort of where I see the beginning of life and where the fetus gets their first moral consideration. Would you agree that abortion before that point is tolerable?
No, I don't agree with.
Personally, I do believe that the majority of Democrats don't support baby deletion until birth. I think this is what the studies bear out, and I'm thankful for that. Unfortunately, there are cases where they do. Delano Squires shared a clip on X where this is talked about. The presenter is asked, how late are we talking about? She responds, the suggestion we've made in the bill is to say that it's in the third trimester. Follow-up question. So how late in the third trimester would you be able to do that? How late in the third trimester could a physician perform a baby deletion if he indicated it would impair the mental or physical health of the woman? Response. Through the third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks. Follow-up. So where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, would that still be a point where she could request a baby deletion? She's dilating. He clarifies. The response from the presenter. My bill would allow that. Yes. The question about when does life begin is a crucial question, especially pertaining to this topic. I appreciate his disclaimer that this is his personal moral starting point, but respectfully, your personal opinion doesn't matter when it comes to this. Science tells us that life begins at conception. People always want to point to the science, but when the science disagrees with them, they want to ignore it. Why is that? I don't think baby deletion should be tolerable, but I do appreciate his willingness to at least recognize that at some point it shouldn't be allowed, which is more than can be said about other people.
Yeah, but again, quick question, just as far as defining the positions.
Yeah.
So would you agree that late-term abortion is indefensible?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I that's not my position. I would not support that.
So you actually agree with me on the prompt. Okay, so now we get into the broader abortion conversation. That's fine. I mean,
no worries.
That's totally cool. So yes, no.
Do you feel that a majority of Democrats support through like the moment before birth?
A majority of Democrats have not supported any abortion legislation on the federal level in my entire lifetime, nor do I suppose that they will. So if there were to be a consensus 15-week abortion ban, for example, which is about the status in Europe, I would assume that virtually all Democrats would vote against that 15-week abortion ban. I may agree with your more moderate position, or at least use that as a starting point. That is certainly not where the Democratic Party historically has been, nor is it where the Democratic Party is right now.
Awesome, understood. And just to
based on some of the recent studies that I've seen, I'm inclined to think that this is true, at least as far as the unwillingness to sign off on a 15-week ban. We're not talking about people as a whole here, but more so those serving in office. It's unfortunate that this is the case because it comes across as if there were no Democrats who are pro-life, when this just isn't the case. There's an organization called Democrats for Life who have pointed out that 1/3 of Democrats are pro-life.
But yeah, how do you define abortion really quickly?
Abortion would be the forcible termination of an unborn human life.
Yes, but like, why do you hold that definition? Like, would you not assume like something like a C-section would be considered an abortion?
No, because the baby is born alive.
But
So
I'm a
how
little
would
bit-
that be an abortion?
What does the definition of abortion have to include the death of a fetus?
Because that's literally the definition of abortion.
It literally isn't though. Where are you getting this definition from?
Where are you getting your definition from?
Let's go to like do you like in like Mayo Clinic, like any fucking like hospital you've
A
ever gone to
C-section,
before?
a C-section ends with the birth of the child.
Right, but
I know.
Shout out to Jubilee for putting on the screen the definition of baby deletion. One thing that stands out about this definition is how they've added other terms in here that seem to muddy the waters. This should be a clear-cut definition. Instead, it seems like they are conflating other things with what it means to have a baby deletion. That's unfortunate.
Whoa! You know what? You know what? Just for, honest to God, just for that, I forfeit. That's like some serious efforting right there.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
I'll take
Really well
it.
done.
Thank you. Yeah, so on the topic of abortion, I think we have a big focus on the moral aspects of abortion, but I do think we should talk about the legal aspects of life, because when a baby is born, two things happen: birth certificate, social security card. When there are when it's like cells in the body, you don't get the birth certificate, you don't get a social security card because it's not alive, it's not born yet. Therefore, when it comes to like the moral repercussions of having abortion, I feel like that's very different than legally, because if a cluster of cells in a woman was equivalent to a baby, I should be able to have tax deductions on that kid. I should be able to have child care from the government. I should be able to have child support from the father. But since like the clusters of cells is in fact not a baby, I feel like morally you can say whatever, but legally a cluster of cells is not like
So sort
alive.
of hiding behind the legal positivist position, I think, to shield against the morality here is a problem, and I'll tell you why. So when it comes to, first of all, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm perfectly happy to have people pay paternity for children that are currently in utero. Like
Okay.
that's fine with me. In fact, I think that'd be quite good. I think it would incentivize fathers to stay with the mothers and actually be more responsible. But if we're talking about legal status, there are plenty of people in the United States, for example, who don't have legal status right now, who don't have a social security card, for example, in the United States. Obviously, we can't kill them. They're legal immigrants. We shouldn't murder them. There are lots of people in the legal status does not, in fact, equate to moral status in any sense of the term. I mean, that it's true, for example, that children can't vote and don't actually have control over any of their decision making. Right? I have 4 kids of my own, and I control their decision making because they're very small. Okay, that doesn't mean that I get to kill them. So the idea of legal status, thus being the basis of a moral status, is putting the cart before the horse. The truth is that it's because things have a moral status that we give them a legal status, and obviously you can see that state by state, right? For example, even in the state of California, they had something called Lacey's Law for a while. I think it's still applicable, where if somebody killed a pregnant woman, that could be treated as a double homicide in criminal law. Okay, that sort of stuff applies all over the United States. So using the legal as a substitute to sort of evade the moral question ignores the fact that people make law in the states based on what their moral perception of the issue is. The law follows the moral perception, not the other way around.
Yes, I agree, but I think there is a problem with the moral perception, especially when you consider that morality varies all across America. It's not uniform anywhere. And that's a big problem, especially when you see in the South when they're having like 6-week abortion bans, which is detrimental to women's health. Because as we see in Georgia right now, there were 2 women who were pregnant who went to a hospital, get health care, and they were denied that care because there was confusion surrounding abortion laws. That's why I focus more so on the legality aspect of it, because that's something that's uniform. That's something that could be known.
It isn't uniform though, right? I mean, it does vary state to state. I mean, as you yourself just acknowledged.
True, yes,
So,
it does.
when it comes to sort of we can get into the specifics of those particular Georgia cases. One of them particularly has been relatively badly covered. It's about a woman who took basically both doses of the abortion medication. She took it without the supervision of a doctor. She then experienced essentially sepsis, and she went to the hospital late. And then, under no interpretation, by this point, she had twins. Both of the fetuses were unfortunately dead by this point, so there actually was no legal problem with performing a DNC at that time, and the hospital misinterpreted the law. But without getting into more details about that particular case.
Again, shout out to Jubilee for putting these fact checks on the screen. I think they're helpful. Personally, I thought this was a good back and forth. I think the question we all need to consider is the taking of human life a moral question or a legal question? I would say it's both. And like Ben Shapiro says, which one is derived from the other. I would agree with his stance that the legal aspect is derived from the moral aspect. This whole notion about the baby not being alive, I think, misses it. The baby may not be out of the womb, but the baby is alive. Hence why the mom experiences the baby moving, or earlier on when they can detect a heartbeat, baby's alive. The cases in Georgia are interesting, and I think Live Action, a Lila Rose organization, did a great job of covering this. This is what they say. The first woman, Amber Thurman, died after the baby deletion pills she took to delete her twins at 9 weeks gestation failed to produce a complete baby deletion. Thurman became septic, a known risk listed on the drugs black box warning. Doctors at the Georgia hospital Thurman visited chose not to intervene quickly and perform the dilation and curettage (DNC), which she needed to remove the infected remains tissue and save her life. Though Georgia law specifically allows it. So, like Ben said, they misinterpreted. The second woman, Candy Miller, reportedly ordered baby deletion pills from Aid Access. She is said to have feared that her pregnancy could be dangerous due to her pre-existing health conditions. But, as in Thurman's case, the baby deletion pills failed to produce a complete baby deletion, with parts of Miller's preborn child left inside of her, and it appears that she, like Thurman, may have become septic. I think this was a good conversation. I think it was a good back and forth. And I think Ben did a great job of articulating the pro-life case. Shout out to at least these two that I saw engage in the conversation. They were very friendly, right? They weren't like super confrontational. And I think it made for a better conversation as opposed to some of these videos where we see them kind of fly off the handle. So kudos to them for also being kind of amicable in the conversation. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.